I said put that back and leave before I call security. The assistant manager's voice echoed across the luxury department store, silencing conversations and turning every head toward a frail elderly woman standing beside a display of handcrafted handbags. She clutched a small gift box in trembling hands, startled by the accusation. I was only asking how much it costs, she replied softly. You don't ask about items you can't afford, the man snapped. You're wasting everyone's time. Several customers slowed their shopping just to watch. One woman whispered loudly enough to be heard, "These stores really need to keep homeless people out." A young man lifted his phone, secretly recording. Another customer laughed. The elderly woman lowered her eyes, gripping the gift box tighter. Before another cruel word could be spoken, a calm voice interrupted. She asked a simple question. Every face turned toward Emma Carter, one of the store's sales associates. She walked over without hesitation, wearing the same welcoming smile she gave every customer. She deserves an answer, not humiliation, Emma said. The assistant manager frowned. Emma, stay out of this. She came here to shop. She came here to waste our time. Emma looked at the elderly woman. Would you like me to help you? The old woman nodded quietly. Yes, dear. Thank you. Emma gently took the gift box. This is part of our anniversary collection. Would you like to see other options too? Before the elderly woman could answer, the assistant manager stepped between them. No. Emma blinked. No. I said no. We have real customers waiting. The words hung in the air. The elderly woman's cheeks reddened with embarrassment. Emma inhaled slowly. She is a real customer. She doesn't look like one. Gasps spread across the room. The elderly woman looked ready to leave. Emma noticed. Please don't go. The assistant manager folded his arms. Emma, are you trying to tell me how to run my store? Our store, Emma corrected gently. He leaned closer. Choose your next words carefully. Emma held his stare. My next words are that every person who walks through these doors deserves respect. Silence. If you've ever believed kindness matters more than appearances, take a second to like this video. And if stories like this inspire you, subscribe now because what happens next will prove that one act of compassion can change everything. The assistant manager forced a smile that barely hid his anger. You're becoming emotional. No, Emma answered. I'm becoming honest. He turned toward the elderly woman. Unless you're buying something immediately, I'm going to ask you to leave. I only wanted a birthday gift for my grandson, the elderly woman whispered. Someone nearby chuckled. A birthday gift? With what money? Another customer added, she's probably hoping someone feels sorry for her. Emma looked around in disbelief. Is this really entertaining for all of you? Nobody answered. She gently guided the elderly woman toward a nearby chair. Please sit down for a moment. The assistant manager stepped forward again. I didn't tell you to offer seating. Emma ignored him. She returned moments later with a bottle of water. Here you go. The elderly woman accepted it with shaky hands. You're very kind. My mother taught me that kindness costs nothing. The old woman smiled faintly. She taught you well. Across the showroom, employees exchanged nervous glances. Everyone knew the assistant manager hated being challenged. Emma knew it too. But watching someone be humiliated simply because of worn clothing was something she couldn't ignore. The assistant manager called another employee over. Take over Emma's section. Sir. You heard me. Then he looked directly at Emma. If you insist on babysitting her, don't expect your sales commission today. Emma didn't argue. She simply nodded. That isn't important. It will be when rent is due. His words struck deeper than anyone realized. Emma's rent was due in 4 days. Her refrigerator at home held little more than milk, bread, and eggs. Every commission mattered. Still, she smiled at the elderly woman. What kind of gift does your grandson like? He loves reading. Emma's face brightened. I know exactly what would make a wonderful present. She walked toward another display and returned with a beautifully wrapped leather journal paired with an elegant fountain pen. This set is popular with young writers. The elderly woman's eyes sparkled. He dreams of becoming an author. Then this feels perfect. It really does. The assistant manager rolled his eyes. This is ridiculous. Emma ignored him again. Would you like me to gift wrap it? I'd appreciate that. As Emma carefully wrapped the gift, the elderly woman watched every movement with quiet admiration. You take great pride in your work. I try to. Even when others don't appreciate it. Emma smiled sadly. Especially then. The old woman nodded as though she understood something much deeper. What made you that way? Emma tied the ribbon before answering. My husband used to tell me that people remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you sold them. You speak about him in the past tense. He passed away 3 years ago. The elderly woman's expression softened. I'm sorry. So am I. You've been raising children alone. My daughter. She's 10. That can't be easy. It isn't. Then why risk upsetting your manager? Emma glanced around the store. Because one day my daughter will watch how I treat people. I'd rather lose a job than teach her it's acceptable to look away when someone is being mistreated. The elderly woman's eyes became misty. Your daughter is fortunate. Before Emma could respond, the assistant manager stormed back. Are we done pretending this is a charity? The room grew quiet again. Emma stood. We're helping a customer. No. You're embarrassing this business. The elderly woman slowly reached into her handbag. I believe I have my wallet. She searched one pocket. Then another. Her smile faded. Oh dear. She searched again. The panic on her face became obvious. I must have left it at home. The assistant manager laughed loudly. Exactly what I expected. I truly intended to pay. Of course you did. The elderly woman's hands trembled. I can come back later. Or better yet, he replied coldly, don't come back at all. Emma looked from the frightened old woman to the manager, then to the beautifully wrapped gift resting on the counter. She made a decision that would change every life in the store before the week was over. Without saying another word, Emma reached into her purse and pulled out her worn leather wallet. The assistant manager frowned. What are you doing? Emma counted the bills carefully. They were the last of her week's earnings, money she had set aside for groceries and part of her rent. She placed the cash on the counter. I'll pay for it. The elderly woman's eyes widened. Oh, no, dear. I can't let you do that. You're not asking me to. I'm choosing to. The assistant manager let out a sarcastic laugh. You've finally lost your mind. Emma ignored him and looked at the cashier. Please ring it up. The cashier hesitated, looking back and forth between Emma and the manager. Sir. The assistant manager folded his arms. Go ahead. Let's all watch her throw away her paycheck. The cashier quietly scanned the gift. Emma handed over every dollar required. When the receipt printed, she folded it neatly and placed it inside the gift bag. Then she handed the package to the elderly woman. Happy birthday to your grandson. Tears welled in the old woman's eyes. Why would you do this for someone you've never met? Emma smiled. Because everyone deserves to celebrate the people they love. The elderly woman gently squeezed Emma's hand. I wish there were more people like you. There are, Emma replied. Sometimes they're just afraid to speak up. The assistant manager clapped mockingly. How touching. Several customers laughed with him. One woman shook her head. She'll regret this tomorrow. Another added, people like that old lady know exactly how to manipulate kind-hearted people. Emma heard every word. She refused to answer. Instead, she walked the elderly woman toward the entrance. I hope your grandson has a wonderful birthday. He will now. The elderly woman paused before leaving. What is your name? Emma Carter. I won't forget it. Emma smiled. Take care of yourself. The old woman nodded and slowly walked outside. Emma watched until she disappeared into the crowd. She had no idea someone sitting inside a parked sedan across the street had witnessed everything. A middle-aged driver quietly lowered his phone after recording the entire encounter. He made a brief call. "Yes, sir, everything has been documented." Inside the store, Emma had barely returned to her station when the assistant manager called out loudly, "Emma! Office! Now!" Every employee froze. Nobody spoke. Emma already knew what was coming. She followed him into the glass office overlooking the sales floor. The door slammed shut. "You embarrassed me. I treated a customer with respect. You challenged my authority. I defended someone's dignity. You cost this store credibility." Emma stared at him in disbelief. Treating people with kindness damages credibility. In luxury retail, appearances matter. They shouldn't matter more than humanity. He leaned across the desk. "You think you're some kind of hero?" "No. Then what exactly were you trying to prove?" "That people aren't defined by the clothes they wear." His jaw tightened. "You're impossible." Emma remained calm. "If standing up for someone makes me impossible, I can live with that." "No," he replied coldly. "You won't have to." He opened a drawer and pulled out a termination form. Emma's heart skipped. "What is that?" "Your dismissal." She stared at the paper. "You're firing me." "You ignored management instructions." "I helped a customer." "You openly defied me." "I followed my conscience." "And now you'll follow unemployment." He slid the paper across the desk. "Sign it." Emma looked at the document. 3 years. 3 years of arriving early. 3 years of staying late. 3 years of covering shifts when co-workers called in sick. 3 years of smiling through exhaustion. Reduced to a single signature. She slowly picked up the pen. Outside the office, employees pretended to work while secretly watching through the glass. Nobody could hear the conversation. But everyone could read Emma's face. She signed. The assistant manager immediately took her employee badge. "Turn in your store keys." Emma placed them on the desk. "Your uniform name tag." She unclipped it. "Locker key." She handed it over. He pointed toward the door. "You have 10 minutes to collect your belongings." Emma stood quietly. Before leaving, she asked one question. "Do you believe you made the right decision?" He answered without hesitation. "Absolutely." She nodded. "I hope one day you're never judged the way you judged her." Without waiting for a response, she walked out. The store fell silent. Employees lowered their eyes as she passed. Some looked ashamed. Others looked relieved it wasn't them. Only one cashier whispered, "I'm sorry." Emma smiled faintly. "Don't be. Just remember today." She emptied her locker into a small canvas bag. There wasn't much inside. A family photo. A sweater. Her lunch container. A notebook filled with encouraging quotes. She looked at the photograph of herself, her late husband, and their daughter. For a moment, emotion threatened to overwhelm her. She whispered softly, "I hope I did the right thing." She slung the bag over her shoulder and walked toward the exit. As the automatic doors opened, she heard someone calling her name. "Emma." She turned. The elderly woman was hurrying back toward her. "You came back. I couldn't leave without thanking you properly." "You already did." The old woman shook her head. "No, not properly." She reached into her handbag and removed a small silver brooch shaped like an olive branch. "It belonged to my late husband." Emma stepped back. "I can't accept something so personal." "Please. It's too valuable." "I assure you, its greatest value comes from what it represents." Emma carefully accepted it. "What does it represent?" The elderly woman smiled warmly. "My husband always said peace begins with one kind heart." Emma looked down at the brooch. "I'll treasure it." "I know you will." The old woman studied Emma's face for a long moment before speaking again. "Today cost you far more than money." Emma forced a smile. It'll be all right. You're worried. A little. You have bills. Emma laughed softly. More than I'd like. You're wondering how you'll explain this to your daughter. Emma's smile faded. Yes. The elderly woman's eyes glistened. She'll understand someday. I hope so. She'll be proud that her mother chose compassion over comfort. Emma swallowed hard. I needed to hear that. The old woman gently touched Emma's arm. Never regret doing what's right simply because it came with a price. Emma nodded. I won't. The elderly woman smiled one last time. I believe this isn't goodbye. Emma chuckled. Life has a funny way of surprising us. It certainly does, the old woman replied. And sometimes, those surprises arrive when people least expect them. She stepped into a waiting taxi. As the car pulled away, she lowered the window. Emma. Emma waved. Yes. Never let anyone convince you that kindness is weakness. The taxi disappeared into traffic. Emma stood on the sidewalk holding the silver brooch, unaware that by this time tomorrow, the entire store, and everyone who had mocked that elderly woman, would be wishing they had treated her with the same kindness she had shown. Emma returns to her modest apartment carrying only her small canvas bag and the silver olive branch brooch the elderly woman gave her. Her 10-year-old daughter immediately notices something is wrong. Instead of hiding the truth, Emma gently explains that she lost her job because she refused to stand by while someone was being humiliated. Although disappointed, her daughter hugs her and tells her she is proud to have a mother who helps people. The moment reassures Emma that she made the right choice despite the uncertainty ahead. That evening, Emma reviews her bills and realizes she has only enough money to cover a few days of essentials. She quietly wonders how she will pay next month's rent. Even so, she refuses to regret buying the elderly woman's gift. She pins the silver brooch to her sweater, remembering the old woman's words, "Never let anyone convince you that kindness is weakness." Meanwhile, inside the department store, the assistant manager is celebrating what he believes is a victory. He boasts to several employees that he protected the store's image and warns everyone that anyone who challenges his authority will meet the same fate as Emma. Most employees remain silent, but their expressions reveal growing discomfort. A few admit privately that Emma was the only one brave enough to do what everyone else knew was right. The next morning begins like any other. Employees prepare for customers, assuming yesterday's incident is already forgotten. Then several sleek black luxury vehicles pull into the parking lot. Uniformed chauffeurs step out first, followed by sharply dressed executives. The atmosphere inside the store changes instantly as whispers spread that the company's top leadership has arrived without warning. The assistant manager quickly straightens his suit and orders everyone to smile, convinced this is his chance to impress senior management. He confidently walks to the entrance, ready to welcome the visitors. The employee's confidence turns to confusion when the rear door of the lead vehicle opens. Stepping out slowly is the same elderly woman they had mocked the previous day. She is no longer carrying shopping bags. Instead, she is greeted with deep respect by every executive present. One executive rushes forward to help her, while another addresses her as Mrs. Harrison. A tall, distinguished man exits the next vehicle. The entire management team immediately stands at attention. He walks directly to the elderly woman, embraces her warmly, and asks if she is feeling well. The assistant manager's smile begins to fade. He quietly asks another supervisor, Who is that man?" The supervisor swallows nervously before answering, "That's our CEO." The assistant manager's face drains of color. Before he can process the information, the CEO places his arm around the elderly woman's shoulders and calmly announces that they are there to discuss an incident that occurred in the store the previous afternoon. Every employee freezes. Those who laughed exchange anxious glances. Those who remained silent lower their eyes. Then the CEO delivers the sentence that leaves the entire store speechless. "The woman many of you judged yesterday is my mother." The silence is overwhelming. Even the customers who have just entered stop walking. The CEO continues, explaining that his mother has spent years anonymously visiting company locations because he believes the true character of a business is revealed not during inspections, but in ordinary moments when employees think no one important is watching. The assistant manager attempts to interrupt with an explanation, but the CEO raises a hand, stopping him. "I've already seen everything." The manager's heart sinks as several members of the executive team wheel in a monitor connected to the store's security system. The footage from the previous day is about to be played in front of everyone. The employees realize there will be no arguing with what the cameras captured, and the assistant manager understands that the confidence he felt only moments earlier is rapidly turning into the greatest mistake of his career. The screen flickered to life. Every conversation inside the store died instantly. The CEO stood beside his mother with his hands folded, saying nothing. He simply nodded to the head of security. "Play it." The recording began with the elderly woman quietly walking into the store. No one spoke. Employees watched themselves moving through yesterday's routine. Then the assistant manager's voice echoed across the showroom. Put that back and leave before I call security. Asterisk. His face lost what little color remained. The video continued. Customers laughed. Phones came out. The elderly woman lowered her head. Then Emma walked into the frame. Without hesitation. Without looking around to see who agreed with her. Without knowing anyone was watching. The footage showed her offering the elderly woman a chair. Bringing her water. Helping her choose a gift. Paying for it with her own money. Finally, it showed the assistant manager firing her while dozens of people silently watched. The recording ended. The silence that followed felt heavier than any shouting. The CEO slowly turned toward the assistant manager. "Is there anything in this video that was edited?" "No, sir." "Is there anything that was taken out of context?" The man swallowed hard. "No, sir." "So everything we just watched happened exactly as it appears?" "Yes, sir." The CEO nodded once. "Thank you for your honesty." For a brief moment, the assistant manager looked relieved. Then the CEO's expression hardened. "You dismissed the only employee in this building who represented the values this company was founded upon." The manager quickly spoke. "Sir, I was protecting the image of the brand." "The image? Luxury customers expect a certain..." The CEO cut him off. "Say it." The manager hesitated. I don't understand." "Say exactly what you believed." The man shifted nervously. "I thought she didn't belong here." The CEO looked around the showroom. "Because of her clothes." The manager remained silent. "My mother intentionally dresses this way when she visits our stores." Gasps spread among the employees. The CEO continued. "She has done so for nearly 8 years." Several workers exchanged shocked looks. His mother stepped forward. "I've visited dozens of our locations." She spoke gently, but every word carried weight. "Some stores welcomed me with warmth." She paused. "Others welcomed me with suspicion." Her eyes slowly settled on the assistant manager. "And yesterday, this store welcomed me with humiliation." No one dared interrupt. The elderly woman smiled sadly. "I wasn't testing whether people recognized me." She glanced toward the employees. "I was testing whether they recognized another human being." Several workers lowered their heads. One cashier quietly wiped away tears. The CEO turned toward the staff. "Does anyone wish they had acted differently?" For several long seconds, no one moved. Then the young cashier who had apologized to Emma stepped forward. "I do." The CEO nodded. "What stopped you?" "I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Losing my job." The CEO looked around again. "Anyone else?" One employee after another stepped forward. "I should have spoken." I laughed. I stayed silent. I knew Emma was right. "I'm ashamed." The assistant manager stood alone. The CEO faced him once more. "You had authority." "Yes, sir." "You had experience." "Yes." "You had the opportunity to demonstrate leadership." "I understand." "No." The CEO shook his head. "I don't believe you do." He gestured toward the screen. Leadership isn't about making people fear you. He pointed to the frozen image of Emma helping his mother. It's about making people feel safe. The assistant manager lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. The CEO answered calmly. Are you sorry because you were wrong? He paused. Or because there were consequences? The manager couldn't answer. His silence answered for him. The CEO took a slow breath. Our company was built by my parents. He looked toward his mother. My father started with a single store. His mother smiled faintly. There were days we couldn't afford proper shelves. The CEO continued. My mother greeted every customer personally, whether they bought something or not. She taught me one lesson before she taught me anything about business. He looked directly at every employee. Never measure a person's worth by what they're wearing, driving, or spending. His voice grew firmer. If you forget that lesson. He glanced at the assistant manager. You have no place representing this company. The entire showroom stood frozen. The CEO turned to the head of human resources. Effective immediately. The assistant manager closed his eyes. His employment is terminated. No one gasped. No one protested. The decision felt inevitable. The former manager slowly removed his name badge and placed it on the counter. Before leaving, he looked at the CEO's mother. I truly am sorry. She nodded politely. I hope you become the kind of person who never gives anyone another reason to say those words. He walked toward the exit without another sentence. The automatic doors closed behind him. The CEO faced the remaining employees. What happened yesterday cannot be changed. He paused. But what happens from today onward is entirely your choice. Then he asked the question everyone had been waiting for. Where is Emma Carter? An uneasy silence followed. The HR director answered quietly. She's at home, sir. Has anyone contacted her? No. The CEO looked disappointed. My mother asked me for only one thing after yesterday. Every eye turned toward the elderly woman. She smiled warmly. I asked my son to find the young woman who reminded me that kindness still exists. The CEO nodded. And that's exactly what we're going to do. He looked toward the HR director. I don't want an email. He turned to another executive. I don't want a phone call. Finally, he smiled for the first time that morning. We're going to her personally. The employees watched as the CEO, his mother, and the executive team walked back toward the waiting vehicles. No one inside the store knew exactly what was about to happen next. But they all knew one thing with absolute certainty. Emma Carter's life was about to change forever. Let's find the person who reminded us what this company truly stands for. Less than an hour later, a convoy stopped outside Emma's modest apartment. Emma opened the door, surprised to see the CEO, several executives, and Mrs. Harrison standing there. I'm sorry, Emma said nervously. Is everything all right? Mrs. Harrison stepped forward and hugged her warmly. Everything is now. The CEO smiled. My mother told me what you did. Then I watched the security footage myself. You lost your job because you chose kindness. Emma glanced down. I simply did what I believed was right. And that's exactly why we're here. He handed her a folder. We would like to offer you the position of store manager, effective immediately, with full back pay, a significant salary increase, and a scholarship from our employee foundation for your daughter's education. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Mrs. Harrison gently touched the silver olive branch brooch pinned to Emma's sweater. Just promise me you'll lead this store the same way you treated me. Emma smiled through her tears. I promise. As her daughter ran over and hugged her, the CEO looked at his employees gathered nearby. Never forget this lesson. Luxury is not defined by expensive products. It is defined by the way we make people feel. Sometimes the greatest opportunities arrive disguised as ordinary moments. The world may judge people by what they wear, but true character is revealed by how we treat those who can do nothing for us. In the end, Kindness wasn't Emma's weakness, it became the reason her life changed forever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes that compassion can change the world.